These folks are business people. They want to keep your business and communicate with you. So do it, and we're the only thing we'll agree on is that.
I just can't resist anymore. The comment has been made, if you don't like your prices, go shopping. How many of you have bothered to take the time to look up in the phone book, see who else would call in Roseville and ask for a different price? Just raise your hand. Okay, looks like about a dozen people, something like that, out of the whole crowd. If you went to an organized system, even the opt-out system, you wouldn't have to do that anymore because you'd have a large entity that is going to get better pricing than you will ever be able to get as an individual. It stands to reason. If you were going to go buy a car, would you rather walk into the Ford dealership all by your lonesome? Or with your brother that's the chief buyer for Hertz rent car? Obviously, you're going to go with your brother. So the same principle applies here. You're going to get a better price, and you won't have to go through the effort of watching your bill all the time, just compare it to last month's to see, oh my goodness, we've got a 20% increase in 1 quarter, and then take the time to go shopping. So that it's all been done for you by the city.
Let's move on to another question.
Yeah, this question is about, does an organized system have to have just one hauler, or could there be 2 or 3? Who wants to speak that? Yeah?
North St. Paul, as I mentioned, we actually started out that way with organized collection back in '86, where we had 14 haulers. And I believe what happened there that there were 14 haulers providing service at that time. So we said those would be the 14 haulers. Over that next 10 years, those 14 haulers dwindled down to 4 on their own, whether they were purchased or went out of business or moved into other areas. And so at that time, we had zone hauling, but those 4 haulers made up 4 different zones within the city, and they provided that service. Then we gradually went from that system to an organized collection with 1 hauler. So I think there's definitely a process for that to having maybe a step from going from a complete open market to an organized collection with zone hauling and multiple haulers, and moving from that forward.
The next one asks about buying carts. Could you explain what that is about?
One of the aspects of our RFP was that we specified that we expect the city of Maplewood to purchase and own trash carts. And in some ways it seemed a little bit counterintuitive because we were really trying to minimize costs to the city. But there are a couple of reasons for it. One is that we thought it was very important in our process to create as level a playing field as possible. We had concerns about the local businesses and smaller haulers, and we realized that large national haulers have buying power on a huge scale, millions of carts that they own, as opposed to a smaller local guy. And so we figured, first of all, having the city own the carts meant that that would not be a factor in the pricing. We were asking them to focus not on extraneous things like how well can you buy carts, but how effectively and efficiently can you pick up trash and take it where it needs to go. In terms of the cost of doing it, we've gotten some ballpark estimates. Was that part of the question?
I'm trying to work the next question.
So we've gotten some ballpark estimates, and what we would anticipate doing if we organize would be for the city to purchase the carts and to recover the cost over a period of years. We have an estimate that it might be about 50 cents a month or something, depending on what we come up with for the repayment schedule, amortization, et cetera. And we anticipate, finding the warranty life of the carts and so forth, and that goes into it. But the expectation is that there would still be lower costs, even with the added cart recovery fee. The other thing about the city owning the carts is that it vastly simplifies the ability to change haulers in the future. It means that you don't have to have every single household in the city have their old cart picked up and replaced with a new one by a new hauler. And so again, that's a field leveling thing, and we have the goal of maintaining the competition in the future that we know that we'll be trying to get the best price every time the contract comes up to be bid again.
Under the open system, your hauler provides the cart for you. It's part of the service, and if the cart's broken, you get a new one as soon as they get one out.
question is for you, Doug. It says, why does NSWMA, is that your organization? Okay. Refuse to fix the open call election problems? Do you have any idea what that question is? Who asked the question? Can you clarify? Okay, I'll read it again. Why, it says, why does NSWMA refuse to fix the open call election problems?
Open collection.
Oh, is it collection? Okay, collection problems. It says the open call election problems. It's the person who asked that. Could please clarify? Maybe we can get you an answer. Okay. I'm trying to get all the questions answered. Well, this one is, are we able to opt out if we are unhappy with the company that is collecting the trash? Is that, are you able to, you're not in North St. Paul and you're not in Little Canada. What are you planning? Do you have any ideas how that would be?
We have discussed, the oversimple answer is no. The more complex or nuanced answer is that we are talking about making ordinance changes and practice changes that would allow for the kind of, state law requires us to mandate that everybody get collection service. But we are allowed to create it out, as Little Canada has, for people that can demonstrate an environmentally responsible alternative. And so this is something that we're going to put into the ordinance. So that similarly, if you have a situation where you can demonstrate that you're disposing of your trash responsibly by, say, taking it to your workplace, if you own a business or some apartment building, then you would be able to opt out. But you would not be able to say, I'm going to opt out and bring this one hauler, this truck comes to my house once a week, because I like a different color truck from the city's contractor.
Another thing to consider too is when you call with your problem for your home, if you're independent hauler, who do you think is going to get more attention? You with your $300, $400, $500, $600 a year bill, or the city of Roseville that's going with a $2.5 million contract up your sleeve? That's something to consider too.
Have you tried to find out why some haulers charge more than their published rates, and do haulers ever charge less than the published rates?
I have not asked any. I can speculate. I have noticed anecdotally with a number of people that have given me their bills, they've told me that they've been with that hauler for a very long time. Sometimes it seems they reward your loyalty as a customer with higher rates because you stop paying attention and they don't notice it. I would suspect that that's the case. They've just figured out how to maximize profit, and they accept that a certain number of people will call up and complain. And I've seen examples where people's bills seesaw, and they tell me this is when I called them up and said, why are you charging me so much? And I threatened to leave, and they offered to keep my business by giving me this lower rate and so forth. I have found examples of bills that are lower than the official rates. In some of those cases, I asked them what gives, what's going on here. In a couple of cases, there were actual neighborhoods that had self-organized. And there was an example, for instance, where a neighborhood in the South Lake of Maplewood had a street project. The residents who lived there were concerned about the impact. They had just paid a lot of big assessments, and they were concerned about the impact on the roads of the trash trucks, which MnDOT says the average load, partially loaded trash truck, the average, the full and the empty ones, is the equivalent of 1,000 cars driving down your street in terms of its impact on the road. So they just wanted to reduce the number of trucks in the neighborhood, and they organized themselves. Somebody in the neighborhood said, let's all get on board. I'll call the haulers and ask who gives us the best price for the whole group of us, and they negotiated a lower rate. So there are a few cases like that where the lowest I saw was 30% under the published rate. I think there are probably some cases where people are paying less than what they pay in organized cities in those unique kind of circumstances.
I don't don't represent any company, so I can't tell you about anybody's particular rates, but remember that prices in a competitive marketplace change all the time. If someone wants to pick up new market share, wants to come in and make inroads in your particular neighborhood in Roseville, they may come in and offer everybody a month's free service if you switch. They may give you an introductory rate. They may be trying to do efforts to try and give you better service. So in a competitive marketplace, what rates are published, I'm not even sure what the value of that particular service that the city provides is. This is a published rate. Those rates are changing because people are trying to gain your business every day by trying to convince you to do business with them. So rates are changing because the marketplace changes just like any other marketplace does. And once again, shopping around, taking advantage of promotions, or people who want to pick up more customers is the best way to go for you.
Okay, we're going to go into trying to wrap up with each and everybody who wants to speak. The rest of these were not questions, they were comments along the lines of why is the government getting into it? Is anything good ever come out of government? Minneapolis is successful and is one of the cleanest cities in the world. And Roseville already has mandated recycling. How is that different than mandated trash? Those are all the questions I had, so why don't we start off, Doug, why don't you start with close?
Thank you very much for the Citizens League inviting us. I appreciate it. Hopefully this has been informative to you. I just want to remind you that this has been something that's happened in 20 communities, including your own, over the last 20 years. And the citizens have overwhelmingly said, don't do this to us, let us make this choice. This is the kind of thing that we want to make decisions for our own home, and we don't want the city to do this for us. It's not necessary. We make decisions for goods and services all the time for other products, and that's the way it ought to be here. Informed citizens, dealing with service providers is the best way to go, and I encourage you all to shop around and do what you can to get the right mix of service and price, and based upon what your relationship is with your hauler. Remember, local small businesses could be very much affected if they're squeezed out of this community for no fault of their own, and I encourage you to be informed, smart consumers like you all are, on everything else you buy when it comes to this. Organized collection is not the solution. Frankly, it's the solution. It's a solution in search of a problem as far as we're concerned. Thank you very much.
There was a question that was taken, I think, as rhetorical, but I'll answer it the best I can anyway. Why does government want to get involved in this? The fact is, government is up to its armpits in trash. It is well established nationwide, something on the order of 70+% of places have organized collection. We're odd in Minnesota in that it is the opposite, that 70+% don't have organized collection in Minnesota. From a legal standpoint, from the standpoint of the law, in the Supreme Court decisions, it's recognized that this is a basic function of local government. You know, what makes cities possible to live in includes taking care of our waste, because otherwise we poison ourselves. This is something that the Romans were able to do by having sewers and so forth, and that other cities failed. And cultures failed when they didn't take care of it. And so this is always, as long as there have been cities, there has been a city public interest in managing this. This is why there are those large taxes. We have a much higher tax in Ramsey County than in other counties. In Hennepin County, it's under 10% instead of 28%. In many counties, they don't have that tax. Well, one of the reasons is that, as I understand it, that was essentially a grand bargain with the haulers resisting any kind of organization, because the county had to meet its requirements to maintain our environment and under state law to deal with the trash that we all generate and what happens to it. We spend millions of dollars a year in the state of Minnesota dealing with the trash of the past and closed landfills. Now, organized hauling may not be the answer to all of these things. And so what I definitely want to encourage all of you to do is, first of all, look at your bill. Question your bill. Look at those rates. call up your phone and ask them why they don't give you that rate. Why is that only a rate for new customers, not loyal customers? Ask those tough questions and consider, if your city does organize or not, that you could really benefit from getting together with your neighbors. I've found neighborhoods where one member of our environmental commission said that his little cul-de-sac had self-organized, they all had one hauler, and he paid for a 60-gallon bin $9 a month. And that was for like 13 homes. Because the biggest driver of cost for the haulers is the density of how much they pick up. If they send one truck, one pay the salary for one crew going down the street, picking up at every house, it costs a heck of a lot less than 4 or 5 companies each sending their trucks, stopping every few houses along the way, taking nearly as long. And you should figure out a way to benefit from that. And as far as lobbying your city, outside of organized collection, consider whether you could get more accurate and honest rate information so that residents have an easier time shopping in the market. And if you want to make free market work, it doesn't just do it magically by itself, as anyone who has dealt with a less reputable salesperson knows.
From Little Canada's perspective, when we started the program, and again, that was just before I started there, not everyone thought it was a good idea. That people were concerned, expressed their concern to the council decided to go that route anyway. Today, 90% think we do a good or excellent job with the way we handle trash. And if you're shopping rates, feel free to use our rates. Our rates are published online. You can compare our rates and see if your hauler will give that rate. Our current contract that we are just renewing now for 5 years has the rates locked with 2% annual increases. You know, we think we get a pretty good deal for our residents, and regardless of what some people say, as a city, and I think I'm speaking to other city people here, we care about doing the job for our residents as well. We want them to have good or excellent services. We don't want them to feel that they've been taken advantage of or given a raw deal. But it's a tough decision, and it's something that everyone has to take a good look at.
Again, I guess I'd just like to push for the idea of having an opt-out program. Everybody basically wins, no matter what your position is on the subject. You've got a way to do what you want to do. Just the one thing I just wanted to make sure that we encourage all of you to do is the City Council of Roseville right now is not taking any position, has not started any process. The Public Works Commission, I think, has had a discussion too on organized collection. The City Council has not been involved. I would encourage you to get hold of your City Council members and let them know what your opinion is.
From our St. Paul aspect, some of the comments of Little Canada, we also believe that, you know, if there is a problem with your service and you call City Hall, we're there, we want to make sure that your problem is taken care of immediately. That's why we've gone this process. And I think back when we went through this, 10 years ago, this same type of atmosphere was in place. We had residents that were for it, residents that were against, haulers that were for it, were against it, I should say. A lot of lobbying of the public with that, and it's just a hard subject to overcome. I will say that today we do not have the residents calling and complaining about that we've gone to this service. I think relatively all the residents are happy with that. And the other thing that I note on it is we don't have haulers that are knocking on our door asking to bid on this service, which is, I think that is somewhat surprising that there's truly these many haulers that are out there that are looking for work. I would expect them to be knocking on our door asking to bid those contracts, and we're not seeing that.
Well, I do want to thank you again for coming out. This kind of forum, I think, is maybe typical of Roseville, that we can come to a forum such as this as citizens and behave civilly. This is not just about trash. It's also about civic and civil engagement. And so I thank you for demonstrating the best that Roseville has to offer. Government is not yet involved in Roseville in trash collection, although if a large number of people asked our elected officials to take up the issue, I believe that they would. I certainly want to thank the panelists. About 2 months ago, I called most of the members. Doug Carnival actually got a late invitation. I especially thank him for being present. I think he makes the case from the trash hauler perspective eloquently and consistently. It's very good for Roseville as a city to look at what our neighbors do. What is Little Canada doing? Of course, Roseville thinks we're doing it better, but Little Canada thinks they're doing it better. Likewise, in North St. Paul. I should have maybe asked someone from St. Paul, but we're all sure that we're doing better than them.
Don't forget, St. Paul is an open system.
Yes. Anyhow, this has been a very pleasant evening, at least for me, and I hope for you. Things to think about. I don't know that my mind's made up. I still don't have a position on this. Some of you in the audience probably do, and that's wonderful. Let me last thank Tom Geminder for moderating this. Without a professional moderator, these forums can degenerate into shouting matches, and thank you.
Thank you.